So let's see what we have in Java for strings. So a string in Java is actually an object. When we want to process the strings, we will face some important pre-built classes. So here you can see three of these classes. The first one is string class. So this class is used to create and store immutable strings. So what it means by immutable strings, it means this type of string cannot be changed. Then we have a StringBuilder class. So you can use this class to create objects of these types. And the point here is these strings can be modified. So that's the difference from this StringBuilder class and a string class. The third class, which is related to strings in Java, is a string tokenizer. So this class can be used to extract tokens from a string. Let's see first the string class. So this class is part of java.lang package. It has 13 constructors and about 50 methods. So if you want to see the full list of string class features, I have provided the link here. So you can check and see the full list. The point here is when you use the string class to create the string objects, this type of a string object is fixed. It means it cannot be changed. So a very common way in order to construct a string is as you see in these examples. The first one, the name of this string is greeting, so the type is a string. So string greeting equals new string, and inside the parentheses you need to write down that string. Or for example, you want to specify the name. So string name equals new string, and inside the parentheses that name. Or for example, subject, string subject be new string equals math. So that's a very common way to create or to construct a string, right? So instead of using the new, you can easily create a string in an easier way by writing a string, for example, here sentence equals, and then that string. Here, that's a sentence, right, inside the double quotation. So that's another way, which is way simpler than the previous one, to create or to construct a string. So as you see, in the first one, I used new, and in the second one, I didn't use new keyword. I just put that string inside the double quotation. Okay, in this slide, I'm going to talk about some commonly used methods for a string class. The first one is equals, right? So some of you know these methods. Equals check whether two strings are equals or not. So if they are the same, it will return true, else it will return false. For example, as you see here, how, for example, you can use that string1 dot equals inside the parentheses string2. So that's how you can use this method. The next method is compare to. Compare to method is used to compare two strings. What it will return is a number. So it will compare two strings and it will return two number. if that number be 0, it means those two strings are the same. And if, for example, that number, if we say a string 1 dot compare to a string 2 less than 0, it means a string 1 comes before string 2 in lexicographic ordering. And if a string 1 that compared to string 2 be greater than 0, it means a string 2 comes before string 1, right, in lexicographic ordering. So that's how you can use this method. Another method in a string class is equals ignore case. This method is exactly the same as the method equals, but here it's not case sensitive. It means if we have two apple, the first one with a uppercase and the second one with a lowercase, equals ignore case will return true, right? Because it doesn't care, it is not case sensitive. It doesn't care whether the letters are uppercase or lowercase. The other point that you need to keep in mind is that you shouldn't try to compare strings with, for example, the operators that you use for comparing the value of integers, for example, equals, less than, greater than. So you cannot use these operators to compare strings. Another methods that you can use are region match, starts with and ends with. If you are interested to know more about these methods, I highly encourage you to check String Class API and see the details. The next method, which is important to know in this class, is concat. So this method is used to concatenate two strings. For example, here we have a string s1 be dog, a string s2 be food, and a string s3 be s1.concat s2. Now s3 is a string that is concatenation of a string 1 and string 2. So s3 is dog food, right? Another symbol that you can use in order to concatenate two strings is plus. So, as an example, if we have a string s1 be cat, a string s2 be nap, and a string s3 be s1 plus s2, now s3 is cat plus nap. So that's about how you can concatenate two strings. The first way is by using the method concat, and the next one is by using the plus operator. Another important method that can be used in a string class is substring. So substring is a method that will return a substring of an string, right? What you need to put as the input parameter inside the parentheses is the beginning index and ending index of the substring that you want to be returned. For example, you have a string s1 be hello world and a string s2 be s1 dot substring 0 and 5. So 0 is the begin index and 5 is the end index, right? So now S2 is hello. The next one is, for example, we have a string S3b S1 dot substring 07 plus dolly. So S1 dot substring 07 will return the substring of a string S1 that are in the range of 0 to 7, means hello, right? So now hello would be concatenated to dolly, and the result is hello dolly, right? S3 now is hello dolly. In the next line of code, as you see, we have system.out.print s3.substring 4. So S3 is hello dolly. What we want to retrieve by writing .substring 4 is the character in the position number 4. What is that character? That's O, right? So now what will be returned is, the beginning index is 4, right? So the beginning index is 4, it means the character O and the rest of the string, right? So that's what would be printed on the screen, O dolly. So this 4 is considered as the begin index. The next one is a string s4b whatsapp doc dot substring 10 and 13. Right, so we have this string whatsapp doc, and what we want to have is the substring in the range of 10 to 13. So now s4 is doc, right? Because that's the substring that is located in the position with index in the range of 10 to 13. So that's about the method substring. I hope it makes sense for you how you can use that, right? So substring is a method that will return a substring of one string. What you need to put inside the parentheses is the beginning index, the begin index, and the end index. So if you put just one number, that number would be considered as the begin index. Another important method in a string class is length, right? So length will return the length of one string. For example, we have a string s1 be hello, a string s2 be goodbye world. So now what we want to print is s1.length and s2.length, right? So s1.length will return the length of a string number 1. What is the length of a string number 1? So string number 1 is hello. How many characters we have in this string? 5 characters, right? So the length of this string is 5. s2.length will return the length of string number 2. What is string number 2? It's goodbye world. How many characters do we have inside this string? It's 13. So the output of s2.length is 13. So that's a very important method that you probably may use a lot. Another important method is char at. I've already used this method in the previous sessions in some of the examples. So char at will return a specific character, right, in a special position, right? For example, if we have a string s1, as you see here, and we want to return the first character of this string, what we need to write is s1 dot char at 0. 0, why 0? Because in strings, the index starts from 0. If we want to return the character in position number 5, I mean with index number 5, right? We need to write s1 dot char at 5. So now the output would be E. R is 0, U is 1, M is 2, P is 3, L is 4, E is 5. So S1 dot char at 5 is E. Or S1 dot char at 12 is K. So that's how char at method works. It will return the character in a special index. There are some other methods that can be used for converting, right? They are called conversion methods. So, to lowercase is one of these methods. It is used to return all lowercase version of a string. To uppercase is another method that will be used to return all uppercase version of a string. So if we write, for example, a string 1 to lowercase, now all of the letters inside that string will be changed to lowercase. So now the result is a string with lowercase letter. If we write S1, for example, dot to uppercase, now all of the letters inside that string will change to uppercase. Now all of the final result will be a string, right, with uppercase letters. Then we have trim. Trim returns a string that eliminates leading and trailing blank character from original. For example, if we have a string be, for example, apple, right? And as you see here, before apple and after apple, we have some blank characters, right? So if we want to eliminate these blank characters, we can use s4.trim, and the result will be apple without beginning and ending blank characters, right? Is that obvious? Another conversion method is replace. So that's completely obvious. This method is used to replace one character to another character. For example, we have a string apple, right? Now, if we want to replace E with Y, we will write, for example, S5 dot replace E and Y. Now, S6, as you see in this example, would be apply instead of apple. So these are some important conversion methods that it's good to know. And finally, we have value of. That's a method that can be used in order to change the type of, in order to change other variables with other types to string. For example, if you have a variable that is integer, you can change it to string by using value of. as you see in this example, int x be, for example, this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can write a string dot value of x. Now, for example, a string s9 with value of a string dot value of x is an string, right? And that string is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or for example, a string s7 be a string dot value of 4.56, right? So now s7 is a string with the value of 4.56. So 4.56 is double, right? That's not a string, but we have changed its type from double to string by using the method string dot value of, by using the method value of, right? Or for example, a string s8 be a string dot value of 16. 16 is an integer, right? Is an integer. But we are using value of 16. Now it's not integer anymore. It's a string. So now s8 is a string with the value of 16. So now let's see how a string builder class works. So that's actually a part of java.lang package, right? If you are interested to know more about and in more details about this class, I have provided a link here and you can check it in more details. So the objects that are created by using this type of class are changeable, right? That's the difference between a string builder class and a string class. As you see here, we have three ways to create a string with a string builder class. First, a string builder buff1 equals new string builder. So by using that, you actually are creating a string with an initial capacity of 16 character, right? So that's an empty string, but the initial capacity of this string is 16 character. You can create a string in a different way, like we have in the second one, a string builder buffer2 equals new string builder 15. So this 15 is actually, that's a number, right? Actually the initial capacity that you are defining. So if you don't insert any number inside the parentheses, then the initial capacity would be 16, else the initial capacity would be the number that you are specifying. Another way to create a string is, as you see here, a string builder buff3b new string builder hello world, right? As you see inside the parentheses, you have put in your string, right? So as you see, the initial capacity would be the length of this string plus 16. So these are three ways to create one string by using the string builder class. The first way, you don't put anything inside the parentheses, it will just create one string with initial capacity of 16. The next one, you will put an integer inside the parentheses. That number would be the initial capacity, for example here 50. The third way is you put the string inside the parentheses, inside the double quotation. So in this case, the initial capacity would be the length of that string plus 16. Okay, some important methods for string builder are, as you see here, So the first one is append. What append does is adding a string or a substring to the existing string. For example, we can create first a string with string builder and name that string to be buffer1. And then by writing buffer1 dot append hello, now buffer1 is a string with the value of hello. In the next line, we have buffer1 dot append comma, right? So now buffer1 is hello comma. If we want to add another string to existing string, for example, if we want to add a word to hello, we can write buffer1.append and inside the parentheses word. So now buffer1 is a string with the value of hello word. So that's how the method append works. Another method is insert. Insert can be used to insert a string in a certain position. For example, if we have a string welcome home and we want to add, for example, to my humble between welcome and home, we can use the insert method. So what you need to specify is that location. So for example, to my humble, the first index, actually the first character is T. It should be after the word welcome, right? So the index of T in that string will be 8. So you will write buffer2 dot insert 8. That's the index of the location that you are going to add to humble, and then comma that string, for example here to humble. So now buffer2 is an string with the value of welcome to my humble home. Another method in this class is delete. By delete, you can delete a substring from the string, right? What you need to specify is the begin index and the end index of that substring. For example, here we have buff3 to be a string with the value of A, B, C, D, E to M. What we want to do is we want to delete the substring inside between index 4 to 9, right? So what we need to write is buffer3 dot delete 4 and 9. So now the result will be A, B, C, D, E to I would be deleted, right? Because the index of E is 4 and the index of I is 9, right? So they will be deleted and the final result is A, B, C, D, J, K, L, M. Another method for a string builder is delete char at. So by using this method, you can delete a character in a special position from a string. For example, you have the string A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And you want to delete D from this string and store the resulting string inside the previous string. What you need to write is the name of that string buff4.delete char at. So as you see, the index of D here is 3, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So buff4.delete char at 3. If you want to delete, for example, B from this string, you can write buff4.delete char at 1. So now the result will be a string with the value of A, C, E, F, G. Another method that can be used in this class is reverse. So this method can be used to reverse the contents of the string buffer, right? If you want to, for example, set a special character at a special position or a special index, you can use setCharAt method. If you want to have the capacity of the buffer, you can use the capacity method. Or another method which is important in the string builder class is length. That's exactly what we had in the previous one. It will return the length of the current string. You can change this length by using the method setLength. So now you can specify a new value to the length by using the method setLength. And finally, if you want to see a special character in a special location of a string, you can use char at and then the index of that character. So char at will return a character at a specified index. The third class which is related to strings is a string tokenizer. So as I mentioned, a string tokenizer is used to tokenize the strings. So that's a part of the package java.util. And if you are interested to see the full listing of this class, you can see this link. So what is exactly tokens? Tokens are chunks of strings broken apart based on a set of delimiters, right? So that's the definition of the token. So a string tokenizer class helps you to tokenize this string. So some of the usage for a string tokenizer are as follows. So we have the string S1, right? And we want to tokenize this string. So if we don't use any delimiter, it will use the default delimiters that are space, tab, new lines, right? So here we have one string, so this string will be tokenized based on the space. So how many tokens we will have after using the string tokenizer? 9 tokens, right? It would be the number of words. So a string S2, for example, if we write down bst.next token, it will be D. If we write S3 to be st.nextToken, it will return the next token inside the S3, which is quick, and so on. So that's how you can use S3. So if you remember, in main method for Java, we had public static void main, and inside the parentheses we had a string args, right? So that's actually the arguments that are going to pass into the program as the input, right? So args is an array of strings. So if, for example, in command line we write Java, then the name of that program, my program, file1.txt output lazy, right? So file1.txt output lazy would be the array of strings that would be stored inside the args. So now arg0 is file1.txt, arg1 is output, and arg2 is lazy. And if we want to see the length of args, we write args.length, which is 3.